prosecutor cited fake cases and stalled transport, so the judge tossed the case and referred her. I'm a public defender, and this all started on a Friday that was the last day of the legal time limit for my client's case. The prosecutor had filed a stack of pretrial motions with citations that looked wrong. I checked what I could and found nothing. 5 minutes before the hearing, I sent an email saying it looked like none of her cited cases existed. I walked into court. As expected, the prosecutor didn't show up in the court. A different attorney slid into her seat and looked lost. The judge asked where the assigned prosecutor was. The stand-in shrugged. The judge ordered the prosecutor to appear at 1 p.m. and said in open court that she could be brought in if she couldn't get there on her own. While the calendar moved, I learned my client hadn't been transported from the jail. Someone said he attacked a guard. That didn't match what I knew. Phones came out. A deputy said there was no fight. Another said the prosecutor told the jail they didn't need to move him if he wasn't cooperative. They woke him up. He was groggy, and someone labeled it refusal. I told the court we were ready to proceed if the state did its job. The judge looked at the empty table and reset to 1 p.m. At 1 p.m., we learned the prosecutor still couldn't appear because she was getting sanctioned in another case at that exact time. The judge's face tightened. We reset to 2 p.m. At 2 p.m., the judge ordered my client released for reasons on the record that I won't unpack here. The prosecutor tried to fix the transport mess by asking the court to order me, personally, to bring my client to court next week. She cited the same case law I had just flagged as fake. She quoted lines that didn't exist and said, "Courts have held," but had no citation. I asked for a citation. She didn't have one. The judge said, "Enough," and ordered everyone back Monday afternoon, and asked me for a short brief on, in her words, what was even happening. Over the weekend, I rebuilt the timeline. I lined up emails where I asked for the state's exhibits and never got them. I highlighted the motions the prosecutor filed, all built on citations that led nowhere. I pulled jail logs that showed no fight, just a delayed wake-up, and a note about refused transport without a refusal. I asked 2 deputies for their names in case the court wanted to hear from them. I slept badly and came in early Monday with a printed brief. Monday afternoon, the courtroom was packed. 3 other trials waited on us. The judge opened the file and said we would go motion by motion. She asked the prosecutor for authority on the first request. The prosecutor offered a case name. The clerk searched. Nothing. On the second motion, the same thing. The judge said it was starting to look suspicious. One motion stuck out. The state wanted permission to ask for a directed verdict before the defense put on any case at all. The judge raised her eyebrows at how one-sided that was and denied it out of hand. I asked the court to address my due process motion. We still had no proper notice of exhibits or witnesses. The judge asked the prosecutor if she had served anything. She started to talk about email attachments and then stopped. The judge excluded the state's evidence and witnesses for lack of notice and confrontation. The room went very quiet. I saved my biggest motion for last, the one that set out the false statements about the jail incident and my concern that the prosecutor's filings were written by a system that invented legal authority. I pointed to matching odd phrases in her motions and in public examples of generated text. I noted how the same wording had been repeated in court when she asked to make me the transporter. Right before argument on that motion, the prosecutor asked for a short recess to speak to her supervisor. The judge sighed and gave her 10 minutes. We waited. When she returned, she said that in light of the court's rulings and the prejudice to the state's case, there was no reasonable possibility of conviction. She began to talk about a dismissal. The judge cut in. The judge said the matter was dismissed in the interests of justice for substantive due process violations arising from the state's misstatements and misconduct. The judge said this ruling was based on my declaration that morning and the court's own review of the many illegal citations in the state's pleadings. She ordered transcripts and referred counsel for an order to show cause before the bar. She denied the rest of the state's motions and closed the file. My client stood still beside me, hands loose at his sides. The clerk started the transcript request. The deputies stepped back from the rail. I exhaled, nodded to my client, and gathered my papers. Now people are saying I went too far.